evening, everybody. Welcome on in to the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and tonight I am joined by Mr. Brad Reed. Hello, Brad.
Hey, guys.
And Shea Foster there on the bottom. Greetings, Shea. Uh-oh.
Shea looks as surprised as anybody to be on the podcast.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Sorry, I gotta mute myself.
It's okay. It happens.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It looks like we are live on Twitter and YouTube, so everything is working properly. So head on over to the chats to participate after our little hiccup Saturday night, which was on the software side, not on the user side. So that was good to know. But yeah, so while you are on YouTube, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, and subscribe to the show. Most of you are not subscribed, so if you want to know when we're going to broadcast, you'll get notifications, and it helps support the channel, the only channel that I know of that talks Wyoming football, which has not been a whole lot of fun this past couple of weeks, and we'll see what the future holds here, though, as Wyoming will be traveling to Denton, Texas, and the first ever matchup between Wyoming and North Texas, boys.
That was really surprising when I heard that, but I don't know. It seems like I don't know. I didn't really hear of North Texas until about 20 years ago, so that's,
Sure.
not too big of a surprise, I guess, but a little surprising.
Pretty new.
Seems like we played everybody else in Texas.
Yeah, I heard about him when we hired Mike Grant as the wide receiver coach.
That should have been a harbinger, huh? Of something.
That's tough.
So welcome on in. Drew is in the house. Hello, Drew. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so Wyoming will be going to North Texas. And let's just bring up the current odds. This is Odd Shark. It did start at 9.5, I do believe, maybe even 9. So it's climbed up to 10 already. That's the average. Oh, that was the opening. Okay, I see how it did it. I swear I saw 9. Looks like it's down to 7.5, so it's actually going the other way. So it looks like people are betting Wyoming, believe it or not, since that has happened. If I scroll down here, you'll find something very interesting as well. Let's see here. Up here. This is what I wanted. The Odd Shark computer algorithm is, I think they picked Wyoming in every game so far, which is pretty wild. So we'll see. I don't put any stock into these things anymore, but they're saying Wyoming basically 23-20, which we would all take, I'm sure, at this point in time.
That would be a nice change of pace over the last few weeks, where is like 22 might be like our combined score for all 3 games, right? Or close.
21. No, they're like 34. I mean, let's be realistic.
Okay.
Wyoming had 3 touchdown passes last week that should all have been touchdowns. So,
Ooh.
21. There's 21 points right there for this week's game.
Yeah, so we're averaging 11.3 a game right now. So we're at 33 points. So if they got to 22 this weekend, they would put 66% of their output for the season.
Well, that would be nice.
So there is that. But before we get to talking, I guess some of the injury news that came out on Monday in Sawville's press conference. Still no timeline on Whaley. And this was kind of the game that Shea and I, when we first talked about this long ago, thought maybe he'd be back by now. He's not even practicing. They're giving no update. So no Harrison Whaley. McNeely is out again with an apparent knee injury. Poor guy's had 2 carries this season. Dislocated his thumb on the first one and then hurt his knee on the second carry. So he's a little snake bitten, it seems.
That's bad luck.
Yeah, it is. Other injury news. John Michael Gillenborg only played in 8 snaps against BYU. And they expect his snap count to increase. They just want to bring him in over time. And we'll see what happens there. I think I'm missing some more for sure.
Nate Geiger's out for the season.
Yeah, and they announced Geiger is out for the season, which I guess isn't too surprising.
And Eckler's got a broken thumb. So
Yep.
during the bye week, he's going to have surgery. Like a pin put in.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that.
So, yeah.
Like he was still going to play, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's still going to play.
I'd imagine he'll be playing with one of those beautiful clubs on Saturday. They'll just club that hand up.
And not injury news, but Rook Brown's out the first half after a phantom
correct
targeting call. So
yeah.
And we'll talk more about why that could be a problem later. But first, let's talk more about what Jay Savell said. Basically,
the other one was Devon Harris is out with his elbow, and Caleb Driscoll's out with thumb surgery. So
yep, and they were out last week as well. So those aren't new. True. So it's a pretty big injury list for this early in the season. So hopefully some of those guys will come back, but we're not really sure. Okay. So other things that Savell said, just want to get your guys' views on this, is he's kind of doubled down on basically what he said the first couple of losses, to where he believes in the team. They're not going to blow up their plan just because they lost. Basically, he's really, really impressed with the way BYU and Arizona State have started the season. And that was kind of his excuse. He's like, hey, the combined record of the three teams we've lost to is 8-1. We shouldn't panic. I'm like, okay. I don't know if I believe that. We'll see. Maybe we can see that point. Brandon's in the house. He says, hey, why going to box some peeps with that club? Maybe.
That'd be cool.
That might be fun. I mean, it's not illegal, right?
Everybody has a helmet on, so that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yes. But, Savell's comments a little perplexing to me on that. Your guys' view on that before we start looking ahead.
I would agree that the win-loss record of the teams we have played is definitely 8-1.
That does math. Yes.
I think Arizona State has probably exceeded expectations for this season, so I could probably be on board with that. I think Idaho is still a very good FCS team. I don't know. And BYU, I don't know. I didn't feel like BYU looked like that great of a team, but they're whatever their record is, 2-1 or something like that. And I don't know. They didn't look like a 2-1 team to me. Well, they look like a very early season team, but I don't know if they were that great of a team. They were good, but
like Shea. So on our post game, we were like, that didn't look like your typical BYU team. I think that's a very beatable BYU team if you play well.
Last year's Wyoming team beats BYU.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, Wyoming was even in the game at the halftime, and then none of them were blocked. They just let that guy run down the field. And that halftime kickoff, and that just broke their backs. But you had that one drive, and it looked really – I was like, oh, my God, this is why Wyoming's offense looks like. Quick hitters, passes, runs. My biggest concern with Jay's comments is doubling down on Evan.
Yes.
If he's struggling and you think this is the time that this season you're just going to keep throwing him out there to learn, hey, that's not what you do, especially the NIL era. But you're going to destroy his confidence if you need to rebuild it. And I don't like things better left unsaid. I understand Jay's probably trying to defend his player, which is good of a coach. He's not bull throwing his quarterbacks under the bus, a la 2020. But I kind of wish he wouldn't say that, because now it looks like he's being desperate with his words from when he was hired.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was going to get to. Basically, he's still giving his 100% support behind Svoboda, which is fine. But at the same time, then you have to have a plan to fix what is going on with the offense, because basically, I looked up every passing stat in the Mountain West, and Svoboda ranks last in every single major one, except for interceptions. The league leader in interceptions has 4, and Svoboda only has 3. So other than that, he's dead last in every major passing category. We're talking yards, completion percentage, yards per pass, all that good stuff. So you got to figure something out quickly because you can't hitch your reins to a horse who's only got 3 legs.
It's a very apt comparison there. Oof.
All right. So then when they started moving forward to the North Texas game, the reporters did ask him about the North Texas defense and said, hey, is this a week that you could perhaps, get healthy, so to speak, right? Stat-wise, be efficient. And he kind of pulled cold water on that, which is very concerning that he wouldn't come out and say, hey, yeah, no, I believe that we can, move the ball against this team, because let's listen to some numbers. You ready for some numbers?
Oh, yeah.
North Texas. Let's just say, here's a preview, a spoiler. North Texas doesn't know how to play defense at all. Here is their rankings in the past 3 seasons, including the first 3 games of this year. 2022, total defense, 121st, 459 yards a game, and then giving up 31.7 points a game. 23, they were last in total defense in all the country. Last, dead last. 476 yards allowed per game, 37.1 points. And you think, okay, well, from there, they can only go up, right? Well, no. So far this season, total defense, 127th, 472 yards a game, and now they're giving up 41.3 points for their first 3 games of the season. So if Wyoming can't move the ball against North Texas, they ain't going to move the ball against anybody, because this team cannot play defense at all. Your thoughts?
This certainly feels like if there was ever an opportunity for the Wyoming offense to have a get-right game, this is probably the best opportunity we're going to have all season.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of things
except
got
for
to
New
go
Mexico.
right. Well, New Mexico can score points. So can North Texas. Wyoming can't even get across the 50-yard line. And every time they do, they get penalties to go back across the other side of it. So I don't know. Wyoming's offensive line has looked like trash. And I saw a stat this week that really, I believe if you're going to be team captain, you should probably be meeting the PFF stats. And J.Y. Williams is on as a defensive lineman, not Bergnoli. There's no Shea at linebacker. It's Isaac White, Jack Walsh, and J.Y. I was like, well, for all these returners, why aren't more guys producing? And Noah's throwing the football up in the air every snap, and then he's not even getting on a block, which is very frustrating. So maybe this is a game that they wake up, but everybody said the same thing from the media standpoint. There's no fire on the sidelines. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going on in that locker room.
And they did ask him about that, and his answer was also kind of weird to me. He was like, well, how do you expect there to be energy when we're getting our butts kicked? Was basically what he was saying. He's like, we got to go out there and do something for our guys to get stoked up. And I'm okay, well then do something, right? Sometimes the coach has got to spark that team. You got to bench somebody's ass or something to get people to say, whoa, okay, coach is serious, instead of just patting them on the back and saying, oh, I believe in you. There's got to be some tough love here.
I mean,
so
yeah.
To your point, Shea, we currently rank 83rd in penalty yards this season with 63 a game. So.
Solid.
Whereas
Really
last year
good.
we finished the season ranked 8th in penalties.
Yeah.
Solid. Get those holding calls, and then your right tackle getting blasted by a FCSD end. So love to see it. And I know it's not all on Evan, because he's probably thinking in his head, my offensive line isn't going to give me a chance either.
Yeah. Clint's in the house again. Welcome on, Clint. He says he's watched all 3 games. Should be a heck of a pillow fight. Ooh, them are fighting words. Break down a little more stats for you in terms of the defense for North Texas. They have the 84th ranked rush defense, giving up 149 yards a game. And that's really right where Wyoming, they need to be able to run the ball to be able to pass the ball, which we've all seen in the past. So I think that is the key part there is 149 yards. They need to hit that number for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, Sam Scott better be in the game. I can't stand that Sam Scott's not getting any carries.
And then here is where this is where the pillow fight comes in, Clint. Let me make sure I have this right. So this matchup, the Wyoming passing offense versus the North Texas passing defense, is a matchup between the 129th ranked pass offense versus the 132nd ranked pass defense. So something has to give, right? It could be pretty ugly. I don't know.
Yikes!
I don't even know what to make of any of that. Like, just North Texas being one of the better offenses we'll probably see this year. Then, boy, how is their defense such hot garbage?
Yeah, and then if you want to talk passing offense, North Texas 11th ranked passing offense in the country, 328 yards per game, and last season they were over 300 as well. So I think this is kind of my concern where Wyoming's lack of depth at cornerback, and then Rook Brown being out for the first half at nickelback or safety position, going against a team that's going to they're going to get their passing yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm concerned defensively, that if the offense can't show up, I mean, this could get ugly and ugly quick if the offense can't move the ball in one of the worst defenses in the country.
Well, Davis and Keanu Parks are rated as the 2 worst cornerbacks in the Mountain West per the PFF. So, yeah, if they could really bring that up a level for all the talk that they've had about how great they were in the offseason, that would probably help the Wyoming defense.
No, they're going to have to. And they haven't played well, for sure.
And if you've got an offense if you got a passing offense that's producing like that, I mean, we're talking probably some pretty elite receivers that, they would probably get their yards on any secondary in the country if they wanted to. And, I just think that the speed of this team I think they'll be probably, aside from maybe ASU, but probably one of the more, skill position talented teams we'll see all year.
Just looking at the recent history, because Wyoming's never played these guys. The only common opponent that in the past 3 years that matches is North Texas did play UNLV in 2022, which I do believe would have been the last year before they hired. What's the name of the coach? I always forget. He's been around forever. Odom, that's it. Mm-hmm. And so that UNLV team went 5-7 that year, and North Texas lost to them in Vegas 58-27. And that was before UNLV really turned things on. So, but again, they were more of a passing offense, and that's why they were able to do that. So I don't know. It's going to be, we'll see. If Wyoming can't throw the ball against the 132nd ranked pass defense in the country, then if they can't get some confidence and move the ball, again, I don't know where you go from there.
Yeah, seeing, you keep thinking back to the touchdown pass that Evan had against Idaho to Body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, that quarterback exists. Like, that quarterback exists inside of Evan somewhere. What's the coaching staff been doing this week to get that Evan to come out and play every snap rather than 1 or 2 snaps every game, right? And I just hope that we have somebody on the coaching staff that is capable of bringing that out of him, because I think what we saw in the Arizona Bowl last year, and one or two throws here and there, it's like that guy exists somewhere, but I hope there's somebody on staff that can get it out of him, and hopefully sooner than later.
That's why I wish they would bench him for a series. Because last year he was crawling and scraping to be the starter over Peasley. And it was never going to happen. Peasley was a really good quarterback, but Evan wanted to be that guy. And then the reins were just given to him.
Yeah.
So they can talk about hard work, but that's still in the back. And Clint brought up a comment. Evan can't read a zone read. BYU was leaving the tight end wide open in the flat of the zone read. If Evan would have if he would be just like Peasley and be able to pull the ball and run or dump it out to the tight ends, he's going to have 10-yard gains, and that's going to open up the running game. So Evan needs to be able to learn to pull that ball out and dump it off to whatever tight end's out there. That true freshman's been playing Herb. Throw it out there and let those guys go get 10 yards. But then that's going to keep the linebackers away. It's going to open the box up. But Evan needs to see – the game might be too fast for him right now because he may be trying to do too much. Because like Brad said, the quarterback's in there. But the game may be too quick for him right now because he's trying to do too much instead of, hey, I just want to go out here and play football.
Yeah, and that's where I think we talked about this in the past show. Consistency, right? The difference between a good quarterback and the great quarterback is making the throws you're capable of every time, right? And right now we're seeing like 2 or 3 really good throws where, of course, as a coach, you're going to say, oh, wow. But if he can only do that 20, 30% of the time, then he's actually doing a disservice to your team. You'd be better off having a guy who's going to be 50%, right, at a high level than 30%. So I think that's where they got to do. They got to make some changes to the offense. I mean, maybe go to shorter passes, more crossing routes, slants. Again, at the beginning of the season, I was concerned that they would go too vertical, and they have, right? Because that's where he's missing most of his passes. He's got guys wide open in the vertical passing game, and he's getting nowhere near them. And that kills you because you got to be able to hit those.
Way over your heads.
So, yeah, it's
very
interesting.
Hey, at least the wide receivers are getting open for once here. Let's really let's think of a positive here. The wide receivers were open.
Big improvement over the past seasons, that's for sure.
All right, so that's all the notes I had on the game. It's just a matter of Wyoming showing up, being consistent, and the coaches, mainly Jay Johnson, kind of dialing in some things like, all right, let's just find the 4 or 5 things that Svoboda is really good at, is really comfortable with, and who cares, right? I think sometimes coaches get caught into this, we got to be able to do 10 different things. No, just if you can do 3 or 4 things really well, do them until they stop it, and then worry about it.
He runs a really good screen game.
Yeah, the screen game I think has been great.
I think so too. But I also think the coaches have that kind of mentality and attitude where they're going to keep jamming a round peg into a square hole like as many times as possible and just keep wondering, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't this work? It's like, well, I don't know why it doesn't work. It just doesn't fit. So maybe we find something that does fit and go with that. But, I hope Jay Johnson has some self-perspective to be like, okay, well, this isn't working. Maybe we just scrap this for a little bit, work on it, and then we just keep opening up parts of the offenses, Evan, starts to dial them in. But there's just I don't know. I hope he has the self-awareness to just, stop mashing the round peg in the square hole.
So they did with Sean Chambers. They brought him in for that Utah State game, and it was the same 3 plays over and over again with little wrinkles, and Utah State could not stop Sean Chambers.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, just do the small little things that work. But to your point, Brad, about the square peg and round hole, it's kind of what Shea was kind of talking about too, is I think the reason they're doing that is because they backed themselves into the corner. the first day Savell got the job, he was announcing Svoboda's my starting quarterback. I mean, that's insane, right? Like, who does that?
Offense.
Yeah, who does that? I mean, you have to be able to fight for your job. You have to earn it, I think. And I think he was maybe, I don't know, right? We don't know if he was coasting all offseason because he knew that, hey, man, no matter what I do. And I think it has a big reason why the coaches haven't even contemplated a change, even for a series when we're getting blown out, other than in the Arizona State game, which was complete garbage time. So, yeah. Thanks, Brandon.
I still need to give that a listen. I should have done that on my walk tonight. So,
yeah, I don't have.
We got Saturday. What are we thinking? What are we thinking is our outcome here?
I have no idea. Again, I can't even predict because I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do. If they have the same type of game plan that they've had the past couple of weeks, they will lose again.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to do something different, but I don't know. I have no confidence that they will.
I'm going to say North Texas 41 and probably Wyoming 10. There's no faith on either side of the ball. The linebackers can't get home on blitzes, and they're in the line, and that's why BYU was killing them with those crossing routes, because Shea and Connor were not staying at home and just taking a step back. They were going up on the run, which BYU couldn't run on the four-man front of Wyoming. And then they weren't be able to get back quick enough where the Mumas and the Gibbs and the Logan Wilsons could, where they'd get back there and just intercept it.
Sure.
So I just don't have any faith I don't have faith in the team captains right now. So the team captains start playing like they can play, then I probably get a little bit more faith in the team.
Yeah. I guess the big thing for me is at this point in time, I don't even care if they win or lose. I just want to see improvement, right? You can't play terrible 4 games in a row. I want to just see some improvement, especially on the offensive side of the ball, which will help the defense. I don't think the defense is terrible, but they're just being asked to do a lot because I'm sure they're pressing because they know if they give up, 2 touchdowns, the game's over. And that's a lot of pressure, which they've lived with for years, right? It's amazing that this point hasn't come sooner. Really, because I've been predicting it, as everybody knows. Like, once the defense falls apart, you never know. But I just want to see improvement on offense. That's what we need to see, because you need to have something. If Savell is going to keep saying this stuff, saying we're not going to change, well, then now you need to prove that you have a plan to improve us, and it's got to start this week.
Yeah, we spent a lot of the preseason talking about how deep the Wyoming running back room is, and if we said that was true, if what we were saying was true, boy, it sure seems like we should be running the football a lot better than we have been. I just can't imagine that losing Whaley is just this much of a detriment to our offense. Maybe it is. I don't know. Like, maybe Harrison Whaley is way better than we think he is, but I don't know. He was out the first few games last season, and we did just fine. So,
yeah, Sam Scott needs to get the ball. Farrell and DJ Jones try to run to the edge every time, and they never cut up field. Sam Scott will cut up field and get you 5 or 6 yards.
Yeah.
I cannot stand watching those two run to the sideline, and I'm like, just cut up. Wide receivers can't block forever. Just cut up. Get some yardage.
Yeah, and the offensive line, right, hasn't helped. They've been incredibly inconsistent. And again, they returned 4 or 5 starters, so it really does. It's really mind-boggling to think how they've really regressed this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know Shea focuses on the O-line a lot. What are your thoughts on why we're seeing these inconsistencies?
Well, it begins at center. The bad snaps are hurting the offense regardless, whether people want to see it or not.
Yeah.
When you're running a spread and you have a bad snap and all the timing is off and guys Guys are on their blocks, I think, but the timing is so far off on those bad snaps that 1 second isn't giving the running backs enough time to hit the hole. But it's consistent. So everybody talked about these big games. All the team captains were talked so highly about, and they're the biggest liabilities. Maybe not Bergnoli, but he should be playing better than he is as well. I mean, the 2 freshmen shouldn't be the star players or defensive line. Your interior, and I don't know. I watched Caden stand dead still against Idaho had 3 sacks, and they came from his side. One time he just fell down and just watched the guy run and just destroy Evan. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's it. You cannot be a returning player and do that. But then, they were talking about the left side of the line. We're not going to run a lot to the left side of the line, but Davies has been perfect, relatively perfect over there with Wes King. But every time I see a running play, the offensive line are never on a block. When it's done, like there's 7 guys laying on top of our guy, and our offensive line is walking around like, how did they get to him?
Yeah.
Nobody's finishing a block. Like there's no meanness. They're not driving their pad levels low and getting their feet set and just driving people back. So I think that the running backs are probably good if they would have better vision. But if the offensive line isn't able to open those holes for long, then Sam Scott needs to be a running back and just let him fall forward for 4 yards every play. So,
yep, that's the thing to, I think, really focus on is getting that running game established so then you can go and attack the worst passing defense in college football. So, yeah, there we are. Since we have Shea here, I know he'll be excited. I guess I can never forget my days, but this week we had some big wrestling news. Is that right? With the announcement of a new special event.
New special event going to be hosted in Cheyenne. I guess there's a new arena there. I don't know. I haven't been to Cheyenne for a few years. Last year it was at Deerwood Ranch, the famous Duel in the Barn. They're going to do it they call it the Duel Daddy or something, but Campbell's coming back to Wyoming. So it'll be on UFC Fight Pass for like $9 for that. And the rumor was that the money that the school got last year for that went to some NIL stuff as well. So there's not gonna be a lot of fans in there. I've talked to some parents. I think they're gonna go there for their kids and stuff. But if you can afford $10 to watch UFC Fight Pass on Halloween. So the big deal about that is they had to get a special waiver to start the season during that from NCAA. So they will be the only wrestling on that day, and they'll be the first duel of the season. So social media pumped
first
up.
duel of the season nationwide, not just for Wyoming and Campbell, but the first one of the NCAA season.
So last year, one of the videos on UFC Fight Pass Twitter had over 1 million views. So, and people were like, well, this sucks. I can't see the team. And I was like, yeah, but that money alone, you got to hold these type of duels, especially for a program that doesn't probably generate revenue.
Thanks, Drew.
Well, and you look at a team like Campbell Campbell, like, you wonder like how many fans even show up to their duels, or how many, people even are aware that Campbell is actually a university. So, this kind of exposure for their wrestling team and their university is probably, tremendous for them.
See, Clint had a duel at the Daddy. Yeah. So I know, I know they're excited. I know Coach Branch is super excited. So, and last year they landed a recruit because of that duel. So,
worth it.
If you're getting a big time recruit to come in and sign, you might as well keep doing this. And Campbell's good sports about it. They were trying to find one in Buze Creek, where Campbell's at, North Carolina, but they actually had it on base down there one time. Campbell did. They hosted a tri-duel on Fort Liberty, used to be Fort Bragg, inside of a hangar, and they had helicopters around it and everything. So
that's pretty cool.
They try to keep the program running.
Branch is gonna have to step up his scouting of the state of Wyoming if he's going to continue this wrestling unique places.
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
maybe
here
we
we
can find
go.
a
How
duel on
about-
top of the Bighorn somewhere.
Yeah, how about a duel on top of Devil's Tower?
Why not just a duel at Meadowlark Lodge up on the Bighorns? Why don't we do that?
Yeah. So,
That's
I mean,
funny.
we'll see. We'll see. Wyoming's wrestling team. I know everybody thinks Penn State's going to kill them, but give them a shot, boys. They got a lot of recruits from out that way, so that's why they're doing that duel as well.
So great, yeah. So that was the news
That's
there. I guess
tough
other
duel.
news this week was some more conference realignment rumors,
Oh yeah.
and with Air Force being in talks with the AAC, supposedly, which again we talked about that being a good fit for them to want to get into the same conference as their two other service academy rivals. Which I think if Air Force leaves the Mountain West, I mean, you can replace it, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a dead conference walking because what? You're going to get some leftovers from other conferences. You're just, at least for Wyoming, you lose CSU and you lose Air Force. That's bad. You're losing so
Kills
much.
the Front Range.
Yeah.
I don't think Air Force is probably trying to figure out A, how they pay for it, and B, what do you do with your other sports?
Sure.
So that's probably got to play a little bit into them. And then I don't think Memphis and Tulane really want to leave. They're making $10 million a year on their TV contract.
Yeah. And
all for the added hassle of going to the Pac-12. 10,
and the Pac-12
8, whatever it is.
isn't going to get that high, according to people. They're not going to get to double figures.
And they're thinking of streaming only too.
Yep, I've heard that as well.
But even if they get to $10 million, that's still a loss for Memphis.
Yeah, because you're going to have to travel.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think they're waiting for the ACC to implode when Florida State and Clemson win their lawsuit. And
if they do, yeah.
If they do, but even then, the reports says stability, and then they offered UTSA today, and UTSA rejected them because they came in too low. So I think they spent their war. Yeah, they spent their war chest, and now they're like, uh-oh. And the ACC doesn't have, or the AAC doesn't have to do anything because they're good till 2032. They're not in a rush. And there's no TV deal.
They put themselves in a really good position. The AAC did. Did Army and Navy join as full members of that conference, or are they just partial membership?
I actually don't know because they're other.
I think
sports
they're partial. Yeah, I think in some sports they're playing in different.
Because like Army's part of like the Patriot League or some goofy shit like that for their Olympic sports, right?
Yeah,
or they were. I don't know if they still are.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's correct. Looks like Shea's doing some live on-air research for us. But that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I don't think they are, but that's like Hawaii. I didn't realize Hawaii wasn't getting any cut of the Mountain West TV contract.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they're able to. They control all their home games. That's why when Wyoming plays at Hawaii, you got to watch it on that app. Because Hawaii
Oceanic sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, God.
I really miss Ricky Kaula.
I don't mind it.
Army it looks like they're playing basketball against UTSA, so they must be full. In revenue sports, they must be full members of the AAC. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I guess, what are the rumors? The Athletic had a report, which I tweeted out. And what did they say? They said the Mountain West is targeting New Mexico State and UTSA. But if you're just telling me that UTSA shot down the Pac-12, there's no way they're coming to the Mountain West, right? And that's where the Mountain
was one they were targeting.
Oh no, actually, that was not what the Athletic said.
Oh,
yeah,
I saw UTEP on a different one.
Yeah, and that's easy, right? And again, I wouldn't be. We've played UTEP before. I guess that'd be okay. But what does UTEP bring? Nothing.
No.
They don't bring anything. They're UTEP. Used to be great, like in basketball back in the day when we were in the WAC with them, right? Football still not too terrible, but now that doesn't move the needle. for the conference to get the El Paso market. I mean, come on.
I ran the numbers quite a few years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't remember. But looking at New Mexico State's football program since they joined Division One, I guess to be FBS.
Yeah.
And holy shit, their program is terrible.
Yes.
Like awful,
Exactly.
terrible. Like
this. Why would you bring them in?
Success they've had in the last 4 or 5 years is the most successful their program has ever been in the history of that program, because before that it is hot, steaming garbage.
Yeah, because
that might even be beat.
They brought in Jerry Kill there.
Yeah,
for those past couple years.
The running backs coach, I think, is Ghali Muhammad, former Poke.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did he leave Southeast Missouri State? Or
yeah.
no?
Yeah,
he's been Southeast Missouri State. And he was at Illinois State with Brock Spack and Brian Hendricks when he was still there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Brock Spack. Should have hired him.
Yeah, I think Brock Spack's still at Illinois State. He's had some longevity there.
Monitor the conference realignment. We still have had no word from the Mountain West other than they're making their plan and they expect to be around forever. So, but we'll see. If Air Force leaves, that's going to cause big ripples, because at that point in time, you're not going to get anybody worth a damn to join your conference because you're just a hollow shell of yourself. So it's bad, folks. This is not good. I don't see how the Mountain West wins this in the end. It's just a war of attrition.
Did you guys listen to that? Jesus, what is it? The Big Mountain podcast, I think it is.
No,
I haven't listened to them yet. Yeah.
So they were the one podcast I listened to this week of theirs. They were going through like the FCS candidates that could be, a possibility for promotion.
Yeah.
And the top school on their list was Sacramento State.
Mm-hmm.
And Sacramento State is putting together a committee to raise funds and figure out how to move up from the Big Sky to the Mountain West or the Pac, whatever they want to call it. I don't even know. And that's kind of interesting in that Sacramento State, and they pointed out that Sacramento State's like in like the 13th largest TV market or something crazy like that. But if you guys have ever watched a Sacramento State football team, I don't think they could pay people to go to those football games. Like whenever I've watched them on TV, like playing Montana State, the whole stadium, well, I mean, their stadium sits like 20,000, 25,000, something like that. And there's like 10,000 people in there, and most of them are either in maroon or blue and gold.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, and they have a lot of success in like their Olympic sports, but the sports that people care about, that watch on TV, nothing there. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Their facilities aren't that great. Any sporting event. What was that?
Their facilities aren't that great.
No, their basketball arena is horrible.
So
I think it's in like a multi-purpose like student rec center or something like that.
Yeah. And then I guess just to go full circle on this, I think it was a week ago now, but there were some reports that basically the Pac-12, they're trying to like swing big, but if they don't, I think they're resigned to the fact that they'll just absorb as much of the Mountain West as they can. And so it could very well play out that way. We'll have to see. And then you have to pray to God that Wyoming's included in it. Yes, right. If you like it or not, because if a majority of the Mountain West teams go to the Pac-12 and you're not invited, I don't know where Wyoming finds a home long term.
Yeah, I just think the Pac-12 doesn't want San Jose State or Hawaii. So, I think a lot of people in the conference want Wyoming, minus Mark Ziegler. The Tribune there in San Diego. Yeah. So if Wyoming joins the Pac-12, he may jump off the Coronado Bridge. But They still, I think the people inside the know still value Wyoming because of the national brand is there. That's why we get so frustrated, I think, with the university of like, what are you guys doing? You should have been on that short list. Like, hey, we want you to come because your national brand goes everywhere. Actually, between them and Boise State, they're probably the only national brand because San Diego State was a national brand until they put basketball on the map. So, I wish Wyoming would have capitalized on that, but it goes back to they were surprised by the transfer portal and they were surprised by NIL. So,
and they were surprised by this. Tom Berman said it. The timing, anyway. He thought it would happen, but he thought it would be several years down the road.
They had $250 million, Tom.
Does he live in a Faraday cage?
Yeah, I don't know. I know you all listened to it, right? The interview with Ryan Thorburn.
I couldn't. Mm-hmm. I was in so much rage. I couldn't.
I got you. Yeah, but no, that was the first thing he said. He's like, well, I thought this would happen, but I thought it would be several years down the road. So, again, they were not prepared, him nor the Mountain West, for this. And it's showing because still we've heard nothing of any value said by anybody. So we'll wait and we'll see.
Good things they didn't do a scheduling. Oregon State just scheduled Wake Forest next year because they have no agreement with Mountain West anymore.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see how they cobble. And Brad and I talked about that. Is how do those two schools cobble a football schedule together? It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. Didn't Wake Forest only end up doing that game because they bought out their game with Ole Miss?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. Sure.
I think that's what they. After Ole Miss piss pounded them a couple of weeks ago, they bought out the game, and yeah.
Well, Clint, I hate to tell you this. Boise's going to take the bigger cut because they've built their brand on it.
Yeah. And they've already got a sweetheart deal.
If Wyoming doesn't find some leadership in the athletic department, they're always going to take the smaller cut.
So if you didn't know, Boise's got the same deal with the Pac-12 that they had with the Mountain West, which is think it's complete horse crap because if you're in a conference, everybody should be treated the same. But the Pac-12 needed that right there; they had to, and I guess we thought we had to at one point in time, too. And you saw, right? It doesn't help anybody when you give an extra cut to a school.
This is the third time San Diego State's left the Mountain West, so we'll see if third time's a charm.
Yeah, there we go. Shea with, I think, that's a good show ender right there. So, all right. So we talked a little football. We talked some wrestling, which I know made Shea and Brad happy. We talked a little conference realignment, which Brad earlier in the week likened to crack abuse because people just love conference realignment talk. So we thought we'd throw that in. So yeah, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, ESPN Plus, streaming only, Wyoming at North Texas. I will be back that night with a post-game show, which will be loads of fun, I'm sure. We'll have a good time. We've had great shows, so I do appreciate everybody. We've had great audiences, great participation, and tonight as well. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Like the videos, retweet the videos, all that good stuff. And we will see you Saturday night, hopefully celebrating Wyoming's first victory of this football season. So for Brad and Shea, I am Chad. Thank you for tuning in to the WyoNation Roundup. We'll see you Saturday night.